in the ring, feel the adrenaline rush, throwing fists and kicks, the pain we can't hush. In the MMA finest, we're the real tough guys, breaking down barriers, we aim for the skies. Into the octagon like a warrior I stand, train blows, taking hits as I command. The art of combat, I'm ready to go. Submission, knockout, that's how I flow. Unleashing the fury like an untamed beast, locked in a cage where strength is released. Striking precision, grappling with my golden octagon. The stage we ignite. Unleashing the fury like an untamed beast, locked in a cage where strength is released. Striking precision, grappling like a golden octagon. The stage we ignite.
And we are live. Welcome to the Golden Octagon MMA Podcast with your hosts, Matt and D Rose.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Golden Octagon MMA Podcast, the second to last one of the year. If you're going to be so kind to join us next week for the recap, we would greatly appreciate that. But if not, this may be the last podcast of the year for you. But shout out you for stopping by here and checking us out. Hit that thumbs up button if you don't mind. My name is Matt. D Rose is on that side of your screen. Hope you all are all having a very nice week. You know, it's getting near that holiday time, so hopefully, you know, you're getting all your holiday shopping done and, you know, you're just overall in a good mood. But D Rose, how have you been over this past week, my guy?
Things have been great over here. The card this past weekend was an awesome card. You know, you can make the argument card of the year. So I know we'll get into that and everything. My betting as far as NFL, you know, I've sent you a couple slips. I've been pretty decent over the last couple weeks or so. But man, you know, UFC kicked my butt again. I mean, I got smoked like a dirty cigarette, dude. Like it was very bad, but. Like you said, you know, kind of in that festive mood. You know, we've been last couple of days. I've been trying to, you know, get a little something, get a little festive. Get the Christmas spirit going a little bit. We ended up getting like some gingerbread men, and we painted those, or not painted them, but they had the icing decorations and stuff like that. So we decorated those and kind of rode around, looked at some Christmas lights, listened to some Christmas music. You know, watching some SpongeBob Christmas stuff, and just trying to get more into the festive mood and trying to bring the family along as well.
That's fair, D Rose. Well, you know, glad you're having a good week, man. Let's see what the chat is up to. We've got Dave in here with the gentleman of culture. What's going on in D Rose? That's messed up, Dave. That's messed up. What's going on, Austin? How you doing, brother? Merry Christmas, boys. Hope you all are good. Yeah, we're good, Antoine. Dave hitting us with the El Loco money tongues. Yeah, man. We'll get into it, but I saw that one coming up a mile in the way. That was my only straight bet of the week. I unloaded on it a little bit, and thankfully it cashed because it saved me because all my other bets lost. I've been watching a lot of MLB history and brawl videos. I have a Barry Bonds Giants jersey, Antoine. That's about as much baseball as I can give you.
Yeah, maybe David Ortiz, but I mean, I'm with you. I don't really watch baseball like that.
No, I said warming up. Nope, still cold, Antoine. Still cold. And D Rose, do you think Dak will win MVP?
No, because Dallas is in all likelihood not going to make the playoffs, and it's going to be hard to justify a team that doesn't make the playoffs, getting the MVP. It'll probably probably end up going to Josh Allen just because they always end up giving it to a quarterback. So I would say for now, it's him and Drake May are probably the front runners.
That's fair. So let's get into the show, man. Let's recap this past weekend, UFC 323, our last ever for now pay-per-view. We'll see what happens after this. What is it? The Paramount bill is up. But this past weekend, in our main event, we had an upset, dude. Petr Yan defeats Merab the Machine Dvalishvili, stuffed almost all of his takedowns, dude, and just kind of touched him up on the feet, dude. All the rounds, really. I heard Merab's corner say they thought that he won the first 3 rounds. I don't know what planet they were on. Maybe one of them, possibly 2 at most. But dude, I just like it was an easy, Petr Yan win. It leaves the division up for grabs right now, man, because, Petr Yan looked good, but, let's not pretend like he didn't. One of his 2 losses isn't against the Sugar Show himself, dude. So I could see them maybe making that rematch if he gets past, Song Yadong, dude. There's history there. And I know UFC wants O'Malley as their champion, clearly, right? Like, it only makes sense. So, with that being said, man, what's your thoughts on Petr Yan winning the belt? How long before the Merab rematch? And, what happens to the division next?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the fight, I messaged you, as the fight was going. I told you, I said, man, Yan was flowing. And I said, man, at that point, I think it was the end of the 4th round. I told you, I said, man, I thought it was Yan 3-1 clearly. At that point, I thought Merab, he had a case for the 2nd round. Some people said the first. I still thought Yan did a little bit more damage with that jab because he ended up busting open on Merab a little bit. I thought then in the 2nd round, Merab came out a little bit more kind of after it. Merab was getting close to winning that 3rd round, but as soon as Petr Yan landed that body kick and ended up literally making Merab scream out loud in the middle of the octagon, like he's like, ow, like just screaming at the top of his lungs, almost like some Homer Simpson type stuff. Like once he started hitting him to the body and was making Merab scream, that's when it started becoming a wrap. Because even like the cardio machine that Merab is, nobody can take that body damage over time. And he was landing, Yan was landing the body punches, body kicks, like it was smooth, stuffing all the takedowns. For me, I just thought it was a big level up moment for Petr Yan. And, I didn't think that Merab necessarily looked bad. I just thought that, Yan was just ready for the moment. So, it is, it opens up everything for the division, just in terms of the matchups. I know a lot of people wanted the matchup with Umar and Petr Yan before Petr Yan had fought Marcus McGee, but, the Marcus McGee fight ended up happening. But I know some people are wanting that if Umar can get past Davidson Figueiredo, as you said, the history is there with Sean O'Malley and Petr Yan, and Petr Yan was asked after the fight, in terms of, what should Merab do? Will there be a trilogy fight? And, Yan's like, well, hey, maybe Merab and Yan or Merab and Umar can fight it out. It doesn't seem like he's wanting to be as willing to give a Merab an immediate rematch, but I wonder how the UFC is going to feel. Just in terms of Dana said that Merab has earned Dana's respect over time, and I think there's a chance that Merab does end up getting that immediate rematch next.
Yeah, same. I mean, he fought a lot of times, like this year specifically too. So but I'd like him to chill out for a little bit. Yep, and then.
Do you think there's a chance that Petr Yan could fight somebody else before Merab fights for a title fight? So, like, say for instance, like Yan could still fight O'Malley if he beats Song Yadong, and then the winner of O'Malley and Yan, you just start Merab in there for the title fight. Do you think something like that could happen?
It probably depends on when both fighters are, quote unquote, ready to go. If Merab's like all right, which I'm sure he'll be ready to go at any point from tomorrow on, then possibly if he's not ready to go, but I think Merab would just probably be ready to go, man.
Yeah, Yeah, and but I am with you in terms of, man, you got to get some sort of break in. At a certain point in time, it's going to end up taking its toll on you. Doesn't matter who you are. I'm not solely blaming that on the performance. Again, I thought it was just a great performance from Jan, but you had to think a little bit of it also had to do with Marab just being as active as he's been.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So moving on down, co-main event, all 26 seconds of it. Dude, they have been flaming Josh Van online this week, but well deserved, dude, because it started out like it was going to be the classic Pantoja fight. He was coming forward. He's a damn brick wall, and it kind of looked like maybe Josh Van, wasn't going to be able to push forward and pressure him like he does everyone else. Like it looked like maybe Pantoja was going to be the one, being the bully in there. Pantoja throws a kick. Josh Van catches it, lifts it up. Pantoja falls on his arm, breaks at the elbow, maybe dislocation, but then ref waves it off. There's a few things from this point on that I do want to talk about. Josh Van erupts like he just knocked Pantoja out cold. Like he's getting on top of the cage, cheering, riding on his coach's shoulders, running around the octagon. Like, dude, like that's serious. Like, it's not 100% like it, but this is almost kind of like the Aljo win over Jan the first time. Like, but then imagine if like fucking Aljo was like, just faking it, and then like got on top of the cage and like started cheering and shit. Like it just, I get it, he won, but the celebration is what set me over the edge. I was like, nah, dog, you can't be out there celebrating that. I know you're happy that you're won, but dude, you didn't beat him in a fight. Like, like that's the wild part. And then, so that happened. And then after, Dominic Cruz has the nerve to post on Twitter that he wishes that Herb Dean let the fight go on. Like, it should be up to the fighter whether he wants to stop or not. As if Pantoja wasn't waving off Josh Van like, no, my arm is broken. Like, dude, Dominic Cruz is so fucking irritating, dude. It's ridiculous. Like they have him on the mic there because he was a fucking fighter, but his takes are wrong a lot of times. He can't say the fighters' fucking names, dude. Like, you know how many times that I've heard Dan Ige, like, what is happening, dude? Like, it's, bro, if you're gonna be on the mic, you at least gotta know what's going on, and you can't say dumb shit like that. Like, bro, did you not watch the fight? Like, they should never have him as an analyst ever again, dude. But I know they're going to, and it's just gonna fucking piss me off. Like, God, I hate it. Just shut up. And then he argues with everyone on the desk when he is there. Like, I truly don't understand why that happened there. But anyway, what's your thoughts on the 26 seconds of fight, the Josh Van reaction, and then, kind of post-fight from there on?
Yeah, just unfortunate for Pantoja, and as soon as the fight started, I looked over Amber and I was like, man, Pantoja is just disrespectful to the dudes that he fights. Like, dude, when he's in the octagon just running at the dudes. I'm like, he doesn't care. And obviously the arm thing happened. Another comment I want to make about the arm thing, dude, Dana was backstage and was telling everybody, oh no, it wasn't his elbow, it was his shoulder. And I am by no means a doctor, dude. It literally the only reason why we know that it was his elbow is because they showed it on replay. I don't know, 1,000 times. Like, how many times could they have showed that on replay? Like, with the crowd clearly groaning in pain because of how sick it looked, and it's just going over and over and over. And I'm sitting here like, dude, can we please stop replaying this? But then for Dana to go backstage and say, oh, well, it was his shoulder, it wasn't his elbow. Dude, we clearly saw it was his elbow. And then the the report afterwards was that it ended up being his elbow. So it's like, are you just grabbing stuff out of thin air just to make stories now? You know, do you want Pantoja out, and this is an easier way to take him out rather than, oh, we got to run an immediate rematch back with a guy? You know, you just say, oh, he's going to be more severely injured than what we thought. You know, he's going to be out for a little bit. You know, maybe to try to give Tatsuro Taira or Kyoji Horiguchi a title shot. You know, I don't know. But yeah, it was just weird how aggressive Dana was towards saying, oh, no, it was a shoulder. We popped it back into place when, he came backstage and, we're going to get him looked at, but it's probably going to be some ligament damage to his shoulder. And yeah, like it ended up being what was it, elbow dislocation, I believe it was. So
I think so. Yeah, I mean that's what I saw with my eyes.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it could have been broken. It's just hard telling. And then as you said for Cruz, man, Cruz just I'm with you. I could do without him being on the broadcast ever again, and I would not lose a bit of sleep. And for him to say that it should be up to the fighters, like Pantoja is literally saying no as he hits the ground because, oh yeah, he can't pick up his arm and defend himself. You idiot. But yeah, sucks for Pantoja, man. For Van, who knows what's next? He has a multitude of options, and I hated to see the celebration, but in a sense, he's 23, 24 years old. I mean, I don't really, 23, 24 years old, not just won a UFC title, in that fashion, I don't know how I'd react either. I don't know if he's necessarily, because he did say that he wanted to give Pantoja an immediate rematch. He did say that. I think Josh Van is looking at it more of like, hey, I'm a champion. My face is, I'm going to be the champ on UFC 5. When they go fight in the division, I'm going to be labeled the champ. I'm going to get champ paychecks. I don't think he's necessarily celebrating it as a victory, more so what the title can bring to him financially.
I got you. But man, I think the immediate fucking celebration after.
When the coach came in and literally like Joe's sitting there getting ready to put the mic in his face, and then the guy comes in and picks him up and runs around the octagon for 5 minutes. It's like, if you don't put his ass down so we can get the interview done, like that was so stupid. Like that pissed me off when the coach.
Dude, the celebration was longer than the fight, where Josh Van didn't even land one significant strike. Like it'd be different if he landed a punch in the fight, but his fucking significant strike total was 0, man.
Yeah.
Like
just annoying, and that's and that's what sucks for Pantoja was that he was just getting cooking. You know what? Yeah, that's a good one, Dave, because you could always say I've been that type of person, but yeah, I mean I feel for Josh Van, and again, it's not like Josh Van was like, oh fuck him, whatever. Like people were trying to push Tatsuro Taira into that next title fight, and Josh Van's like, no, I want Pantoja next. Like he's the greatest the greatest flyweight of all time, and I want to make it right to him. Give him the fight back. So Josh Van has said afterwards, hearing him talk about it afterwards, I can kind of understand.
Yeah, I can see Pantoja coming back from that, Antoine. I don't think it's going to be too rough of an injury if it's an elbow dislocation. That is. So moving on down, dude, your dog of the week was Brandon Moreno against Tatsuro Taira, dude. And although, do I think the stoppage was early? I do, very early. Tatsuro Taira does win by TKO in round number 2 against Brandon Moreno, dude. It was kind of sad to see because Brandon Moreno had Taira in a triangle the whole first round. Was the commentators like, oh my god, he's got this triangle deep, bro? His leg was like under his arm. I'm like, you can't, that's not how you triangle someone. Like the angle couldn't have been more off, and fucking Tatsuro Taira was in no danger that entire first round. But the commentators would have had you thinking, dude, he's gonna go to sleep any second. It's like
I started getting excited because Joe Rogan was, and I was like, "Don't get excited." Joe Rogan's just doing his normal freak out thing. It's not,
but it was like the entire round. It's like, bro, he was off, like he was closer to an armbar than a triangle, which is wild to me. Like it made no sense. But Joe Rogan going nuts. Round 2 starts. Tatsuro Taira gets him back control, starts landing some shots. Brandon Moreno was getting up, and then the ref stops it, dude. So kind of shitty, dude. Early stoppage, but I hate to do this to you, dude. It's been three in a row, dude. Chepe Mariscal, Bezcat Almacan, and now the assassin baby, Brandon Moreno. D Rose's dog of the week is No Mas. We will add it to the graveyard, D Rose, with what else do we got up here? We've got podcast play of the week. We've got the fisting of the week. we got D Rose's dog of the week now. I think I have a fucking ladder up here fucking somewhere too.
The ladder. Yeah, no, the ladder.
That is no mas, D Rose. No more dog of the week. What happened, man? 3 in a row just took L's like that, dude.
Freaking Mark Smith, man. I mean, you know, hey, he didn't have to stop that fight that early. You know, Moreno was getting back to his feet. He was building his base. You know, he was going to get up, and I think the stoppage was a little bit early, yeah, but I will say it was shocking how much that, you know, Tatsuro Taira was able to get the control over Moreno, and like even at the face-offs, like the size advantage didn't look that big, but dude, when they faced off in the octagon from one another, I was like, holy smokes, Tatsuro Taira looks like a bantamweight, and Moreno looks like a flyweight. Like, dude, Tatsuro Taira looked massive in there. You know, and once he was able to get the takedown and get the, you know, take Moreno's back, you know, it was curtains. And, you know, it's as much as I hate to admit it, you know, that was the one I thought that Moreno was going to be able to hold his own in. And do I think the stoppage was a little early? Yes, but it was very clear that you know, Moreno was going to have an uphill battle from even just getting off the ground for that round. You know, even if he hadn't gotten finished, it could have been pretty rough for him. So rough for Moreno, but man, Tatsuro Taira, you know, he had that Royval loss, but he's bounced back huge. He has bounced back huge and potentially put himself back in the title shot conversation.
Yeah, so it was a good run. It was a good run, D Rose.
It was my ish. You know, I was cooking with it for a little bit, but you know, all good things must come to an end. You know, even the best of shows only have, you know, maybe about 4 or 5 seasons. You know, we had our couple, you know, maybe our 3-4 season run, and you know, I'll live with it.
That's fair, man. It was only going to get worse. Maybe, man. Does Brandon retire now? I don't think so. I don't think so yet.
The broadcast was, I know John Anik and them was like, yeah, you know, he's had a great career, and you know, he's done a lot, and it almost sounded like they were trying to push him into retirement as the fight ended. I was like, damn, I mean, can we give the man a minute to try to, you know, soak in this loss versus, you know, trying to push him out the door? Sheesh.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. So moving on down, dude, we had Henry Cejudo taking on Peyton Talbot, dude. Peyton Talbot just beat the shit out of Henry Cejudo, you know, hit him with his own move. After the fight, looked like he just, you know, ran a mile. Like, you couldn't have been told me that he was in a fight, because I don't know if Henry landed any punches on him. He was swinging hard as shit, but I don't know if he fucking landed, dude. And one of the things that I just continue to take away from every Peyton Talbot fight, he's just so calm, like in there, man. Like, he's probably going to look good, like fucking in any 5-round fight, unless you have someone that's going to like push the pace on him, like make him work nonstop, dude. Like, unless he fights Marab, dude, I don't really think we see Peyton Talbot get tired, dude. What's your thoughts on him beating the shit out of Henry, and then where does he go from here?
Well, you know, great fight, and honestly, I thought it was a good fight. I know you said you didn't think that Cejudo landed some punches, but dude, there, you know, in that flurry there in the second round, so it was funny how it kind of built up. You know, we were messaging each other back and forth, and you know, it was during the first round. It was like towards the end of the first round, maybe about a minute or so left, and I messaged you and I said, "Man, dude, Henry is so freaking tough." I was like, you know, I haven't been the biggest fan of him, but I said that dude has a hell of a chin. And then about, of course, as soon as I said that, the second round starts and then Henry gets dropped. And I messaged you and I said, of course, as soon as I said that. And dude, that's when Cejudo was just getting bombed on elbows. He was getting roasted to the body. He got dropped with the left hook, or I think it was the right hook, kind of like a little check hook as Talbot was kind of stepping out. Cejudo was getting blasted. Body shots, and I right there at the end, I even messaged you and said, hey, the only ways Henry has ever been finished was by body shots by DJ, man, and he's getting roasted to the body right now. And all of a sudden, Henry kind of steps back into the center of the octagon. He's kind of holding his stomach a little bit, and then he just fires off a big punch and kind of catches Talbot coming in, and then Cejudo kind of bit down and was thrown down himself. So I thought it was a good fight. You messaged me after that whole sequence. You said your statement still stands. Just in terms of Henry being so tough. Because, dude, the toughness that dude displayed during that butt whooping. Most dudes who, especially on their way out, this being their last fight, most dudes would have shut up and said, hey, I had a great career. I did this. I did that. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Henry did not have any desire to quit whatsoever. Stood in there, went toe-to-toe with a young prospect who's on the rise right now. And, great fight from Henry. And for Peyton, man, he's looking sharp, man. So, I'm with you. It's going to be tough to see him. It's crazy to see the evolution that he's made from the Hani Barcelos fight just to this fight alone. So, him leveling up and going up to the top of the division, I'm only curious to see how much better he's going to get.
I agree, man. I agree. Anton wants to know, is Henry a top 10 martial artist of all time? I think in his prime, yeah, but I mean, he's a little bit older now. He's got some wear and tear, dude. He's had some shoulder injuries.
His biggest problem was that
he retired in his prime, right? Like, what are you doing?
He was the one who screwed himself because who was coming up. And so he ended up getting the fight with Dominic Cruz for the title fight. Remember that he was the one who wanted that fight. It wasn't the UFC who wanted that fight. He was the one who called for that fight. So the UFC was doing stuff for Henry's favor. And then he wanted to retire to try to negotiate more money. It's like the UFC was already doing these favors. Jose Aldo ended up getting a title shot after that against Peter Yan off of a loss to Marlon Moraes. Cejudo could have fought Jose Aldo if he wanted to. Or he could have fought Peter Yan before Peter Yan got good, beat Peter Yan, and then the world could have been his oyster at that point. But he was 31, 32 years old when he stepped away from the game at the peak of his power. And then I think, any leverage that he ended up having, he just really threw it all away and threw away his potential to become a top 10.
Yeah, that's fair, man. That's fair. It's tough, Antoine. What's going on, Matty Mac? How you doing, brother? So moving on down, the main card opener was Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov won. Dude, I think Jan won round 1 and 3, and then Bogdan Guskov apparently 10-8'd Jan in the second, man. But Jan keeps finding his way to these draws, man. Like, it was a good fight. I personally thought Jan won, but I personally had Jan picked for the pick champ this week. Which was the last one and the deciding factor because we were 2-2 before this, and then this draw happened. So, I guess what's your thoughts on the fight, man?
Yeah, I heard some people complain about this fight, about it being a boring fight. I mean, I actually thought it was a pretty exciting fight. Now, I know the first part of the first round was a little bit, it was a yawn fight. It was, trying to get the distance, getting the speed down, trying to get the range and everything. But, there in the second round, Bogdan had a clear speed advantage and caught, Jan with a big, I think it was a right hand. He kind of stepped in and, kind of charged in real quick, landed a big right hand. I did think that second round was a 10-8. I messaged you after the fight and I was like, yeah, that, I agreed with the draw. I thought it was a 10-8 because, Jan got dropped and all he did was throw punches off his back, but he was getting elbowed. Like, he got busted up, got damaged up pretty good because, I mean, I can't tell you the last time I've seen Jan like cut up like that and bleeding. Like, he got damaged pretty good there on the ground to the point to where, he got sliced up pretty good and got dropped, got controlled for 4 minutes in a 5-minute round. That warrants a 10-8 in my opinion, but he definitely won the third round and, put his stamp on it there at the end and almost got the finish against Bogdan Guskov. Jan dropped Bogdan there at the end and almost got the finish, but a good fight. And if there was ever a well-deserved draw, it was that one.
That's fair, man. So prelims from this past weekend, we had Manuel Torres versus Grant Dawson main eventing the prelims, dude. This was my only straight bet of the week. I had Manuel Torres by knockout. Bet at plus 250 because I bet it like Monday or Tuesday. When this line closed, dude, Manuel Torres, my knockout was like plus 330, dude. I should have bet it again and more money, but I didn't. I'm just glad that I did bet it straight. And I was able to cash on this one, dude. I was real confident on this one, dude. And these fights happen every now and then, dude, where it's like I see something that apparently the betting market does not, because I was like I'm like, oh, he's going to knock him like the fucking Brian Battle Gabe Green. I was like, oh, Brian Battle, he's going to knock him out. And sure enough, Gabe Green went in there and charged him, and it just got fucking smoked, dude. This was like one of those ones that it was just like, why is Manuel Torres the dog? And him by knockout is like plus money, like plus 2 times your money. And fucking Grant Dawson's got a bad chin. He got knocked out by Bobby Green, dude. And it's like, why is Manuel Torres the dog? And sure enough, Manuel Torres came in there with the low stance, stuffed 2 takedowns, and then rolled up Grant Dawson and smoked him, dude. What's your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, that was, that's why I told you in terms of like betting on this fight for me. I mean, I know I picked Grant Dawson to win, but I literally stayed away from it. I didn't bet anything on this fight because I was like, I could have seen it going, either direction, but I thought, Cormier nailed it perfectly because he said, Grant Dawson fought like he was scared. And that's when he can't take a guy down, like that's exactly how he fights. It's like a guy who like, oh shit. And he's just like, just barely kind of throwing these punches. And he's just, trying to make sure his head's away when he's throwing the punch. And, he's getting himself off angle and stuff like that. And that's how Manuel Torres was able to set up that counter shot, was that he was able to, catch Grant Dawson when he was off balance, off of throwing one of them wild punches that he kept throwing. And that's how, Torres was able to get him out of there. So hell of a knockout. And Grant Dawson definitely got to work on some stuff as I try to work on my camera.
Yeah. I think you got to put your face closer to it. There you go.
Yeah, well, I tried to do my Grant Dawson punch and ended up, I ended up throwing my camera off so much it looked like it got intimidated. So
you couldn't even knock out your camera, which is the wild part.
But the intimidation's there clearly.
Yeah, the Grant Dawson punch blurred the camera, dude. It is what it is. It says D-Rose hitting that Jerry Cannoneer. He's got some fucking crystals. That's fair. You're gonna fuck up your camera. Anyway, moving on down, dude. Another banger. T-Rex versus Chris Duncan, man. T-Rex came out, classic T-Rex fight, throwing knees, throwing caution to the wind, dude. Touching Chris Duncan up, dude. He was, dude. I don't know if he threw any strikes that didn't hit Chris Duncan like right in the face, dude. Because I feel like everything fucking T-Rex was throwing, he was just lighting Chris Duncan up, dude. At one point, he knocked out Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan is falling forward on his face, goes to catch himself, and catches a double leg takedown and somehow gets Terrence McKinney down from that. And from that point on, 2 minutes into the fight, T-Rex had no gas left, like he had emptied the tank trying to get Chris Duncan out of there. While he's on the ground, he does slowly work his way back to his feet. Chris Duncan lands an elbow. T-Rex falls to the ground. He clearly wants out of there. He's done. Get him out of there. And the ref don't stop it. T-Rex has to get back to his feet again and fall down again for the ref to stop it, dude. But Chris Duncan then wraps up his neck, fucking like he was like, okay, the ref's not gonna fucking. I've already fell down twice now. Fucking ref's not gonna stop it. Fucking Chris Duncan wraps up the neck, gets it first round submission, 2 minutes 30 seconds into the round, man.
Hey, that don't want to say it, but that went exactly how I thought it was going to go.
T-Rex had a chance though, but he's always got a chance.
but yeah, exactly, because he's just that dangerous and that explosive. Look, I've been on the other end of the Terrence McKinney train where I picked for him and he's came up on the short end, but I've also I remember being big on him in the Drew Dober fight, and he almost got Drew Dober out of there, but then of course Drew Dober ended up clobbering him there at the end. Chris Duncan has fought a couple berserker guys before. He's fought, Charlie Campbell, on the Contender Series. Kind of reminded me of that fight a little bit. Me and the ref both, Sugar Ray. Me and the ref both had had that Chris Duncan sub bet. But Chris Duncan has fought Charlie Campbell and he's fought Manuel Torres. Two kind of berserker guys who are going to go balls out in that first round. So he's kind of dealt with guys like that before, so I thought that he was going to be able to weather the storm against Terrence McKinney. And all you got to do is get out of the first. I hate to say it like that, but all you got to do is get out of the first minute. If you can get out of the first minute with Terrence McKinney, you're probably going to have a lot better chances, because if Terrence McKinney kind of catches you with a big shot and you're wobbling and he's got you on your back in the first round, he's probably going to end up submitting you or ground and pounding you. But if you withstand that first minute like Chris Duncan can, he could bite down and give it back too. And after that elbow, I thought they were going to stop it. Of course, I told you I had the sub bet. I had it parlayed, and I don't know why I didn't have it bet straight, because that was one of my most confident picks of the week. But of course,
I just had the under 1.5 too.
I had it parlayed. I had it parlayed with Bogdan by decision. Like, I'm still kicking myself.
It's close.
That, but
it's close, man.
It was close, man. It was very close, but no, great fight. Chris Duncan delivers as always, and Terrence McKinney as well. And even the Terrence McKinney, he loses more than he wins. I hope he never leaves the UFC, man. I hope he gets
He's
back at it. And
should you be in the UFC or not?
Well, I heard him say he wanted to fight Jordan Levitt. Like, he ended up doing an interview with like some little small podcast after the fight, and said that he wanted to fight Jordan Levitt next. So I'm like, that's pretty quick for him to get back on there and say that. And it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Macy Barber, Karina Silva, dude. I lost a bunch of money on this one because I had Karina Silva and a whole bunch of parlays, dude. I thought she was going to be the better grappler. And the first round, she looked like it, dude. But when she's on her back, she just if she doesn't get the subs, then she just gets beat up, man. So. And that's what Macy Barber does. So Macy Barber does win via decision. Do I think she was faking, acting like she got like hurt by that kick, dude? A little bit. And no, not gonna lie, because she either hurt her knee or she's acting like she was wobbly from getting pushed off when she was on the ground, dude. So it is what it is. Do you have any thoughts on that fight?
Just good to see Macy back. And I did think that before the fight, I had said, I was surprised that Macy was as big of a favorite, but after the fight had started playing out, I was like, you know what? I could see where the bettors are kind of coming from, because I think you can make the argument that Macy won all 3 rounds. I thought Karina looked good, but if she doesn't really get the back or doesn't really get that top control on the ground, it is really like, if she ends up getting reversed, like Macy was able to reverse her, you don't want to say it's curtains, but Karina Silva almost will just lay there, for the rest of the round and not even really try to get back up. And, that's a bad place to be with Macy Barber, because, again, am I the biggest fan of Macy's interviews? Not necessarily, but dude, she's just got a mean, nasty attitude. And as soon as she was able to try to unleash some vicious ground and pound on Karina Silva, she did. And I just really thought that aggression was really what separated the two fighters.
That's fair, dude. Another one that ruined my bets here. We had Faris Ziam taking on Nazim Sadikov, dude. Well, in my opinion, I thought it was an early stoppage by Herzog, because classic Herzog. He's back. He was back this week. I sent you a little fucking video, so he's back. But, stopped it with 1 second left in the second round when it looked like Nazim Sadikov, it didn't really look like he was done. Probably could have recovered, after the second round, came out, had a classic Nasty Naz, third round finish there. At least that's what I had bet. Nazim Sadikov, third round knockout. But yeah, man, I sad to see, good to see for ASEAN, but it just so inconsistent, dude. He's slowly getting better, I think, but big lightweight. Maybe I need to give him his credit. Maybe if he, fucking loses money against me again, then I'll fucking be like, all right, I'm done betting against this fucking guy. Because I think that's what it is. I just need to lose enough money betting against them before I'm like, all right, fuck it. They're good. They're good. What's your thoughts versus Nazim Sadikov versus Farsian?
Yeah, no, it was honestly for me, I thought it was a good stoppage. Just because when Nazim gets up, he's stumbling. Yeah, he's stumbling bad, and that elbow, that was a vicious elbow. It was very similar to the Terrence McKinney, Chris Duncan elbow, where Terrence McKinney was done after that elbow. It's just, the fight wasn't stopped at that point, where I thought that was an appropriate stoppage. And, for me thinking that Nazim was going to use his wrestling, Fares Ziam was the one who was using his wrestling and, really controlled the terms. He controlled the striking terms, and really for and I'm still pretty high on Nazim Sadikov for the most part, but a guy that I think me and you are both pretty high on, for ASEAN, he dominated, in my opinion. So that was really, I think in terms of the fans recognizing and respecting Ziam, I think that was like a turning point in his career type fight, to where I think people are going to start taking him a lot more serious now, because you get a finish against Royval, you beat Jai Herbert. Yeah, that's,
but now you beat Mike Davis and Nazim Sadikov. Like,
yeah,
man, fuck.
Yeah.
I don't want to bet for the
Frenchman.
I don't want to bet on the French.
Hey, I did pick Ziam against Mike Davis. I did think he would get that one, but I thought maybe, that Sadikov was going to put the striking and the wrestling together. But man, Ziam, he again looked good, and I think this is the type of fight where I think people are going to start. I think he's earned a lot of people's respect now.
All right, so let's run through these early prelims real quick. I'm just going to know if I can run through them, and I'll let you talk about anything you want to talk about. So Bruno Ferreira versus Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori just fucking plotted his way around the octagon the whole fight and was kind of getting beat up. Bruno Ferreira wins via decision. Jalen Turner versus Edson Barboza. Welcome back, Jalen Turner. He beat the brakes off of Edson Barboza. Like, came out there, front kicking him, cut him with the elbow, got him up against the fence, and just kind of unloaded. Herb Dean stopped it. Iwo Barnetsky versus Ivo Aslan might be fight of the past 10 years, dude. What a barn burner. They went out there and just said, fuck defense. Let's just throw hooks at each other. And both fighters got dropped. I think Ivo got dropped twice. Iwo might have gotten dropped twice. Who knows? But Iwo Barnetsky does win the fight in the first round in 1 minute and 29 seconds via knockout, because flatline Ivo Aslan. Mansour Abdul Malik, Antonio Trockley, the poker player, jiu-jitsu black belt, got, standing guillotined again in the first round, this time by Mansour Abdul Malik. The wild part, D-Rose, is I had this bet in a parlay. It was Mansour Abdul Malik by sub, Karine Silva by sub, and I think it was maybe one more fighter by sub, but it don't matter because Karine Silva did not win by submission, so I did not win that bet. So that was kind of sad to see. Antonio Trockley, can you stop fighting now? Just fucking go home and just bang Mackenzie Dern. Like, what are you doing out here? Risking your life against Mansour Abdul Malik. Like, I would treasure those moments. I want to be alive as much as I could if I had that at home. But instead, he's out here risking his life against Mansour Abdul Malik. Anyway, first fight of the night was Muhammad Naimov versus Myron Santos, when Myron Santos knocks out Muhammad Naimov in the third round. I got to be honest, I was watched the first 2 rounds of this, got up to go pee, and came back and saw that Myron Santos had won the fight. So I didn't even see what he landed on fucking Naimov to knock him out. But I was like, oh, wow, guess he knocked him out. ruined my bets because I had this fight to go over 2.5 rounds. So, what's your thoughts on early prelims, D-Rose?
I also had that fight to go over 2.5 rounds, so that sucked. But really, just the ones for me, just really the two was, as you said, welcome back, Jalen Turner. A good performance from him against, Edson Barboza. We know him
Dave,
to be really tough.
I'm not trying to go fight Mansour Abdul Malik. I'm happy with my fucking current life. I don't hate myself. Like Antonio Trogli has to hate himself. That's wild.
Yeah, very good point. Or hey, maybe Mackenzie Dern paying out. I know I've seen comments where she says she's had to pay out her ex. Maybe maybe funds are a little tough. Is why why he might have to be out there doing it. But for Jalen Turner, good to see him back. Good, as Antoine's saying here, good bounce back for Jalen Turner. Edson Barboza was landing some pretty decent shots there at the beginning, and I was like, "Uh-oh, are we gonna get a little bit of old Edson?" But Jalen Turner was able to land some big right hands, and Edson just can't take a shot like he used to. And Jalen Turner, he saw the finish and was able to take advantage and get him out of there. And that Barneski and Aslan fight, dude, just absolute mayhem. Here in DC, going all giddy on the broadcast. I missed it live.
Like so 2 fights later.
He's still talking about it. Like, dude, going into the main card, like he was still talking about that fight. So, he said that was the most fun he ever had at a fight. So them bringing the energy to it also made it fun. Because I had to watch it after the fact because I did get a little busy at work on Saturday. But ended up going back and watching it after the fact, and I got the energy from DC, watching it the whole time. But
you're like, absolutely this fight.
Dude, I was like, dude, I got to. I was like, everybody's talking about it. I got to go back and see it. So I even went back and saw it like before. I think even the main card had started. So I was like, I got to go back and watch this real quick. Went back and watched it, and it absolutely delivered for the whole 90 seconds.
Yeah, dude, crazy fight. But good card overall. Wish I would have won some more dollars. Man, the wild part, D-Rose, is when I make fucking straight bets, I usually win these motherfuckers. And I continue to make parlays, dude. I just don't know what it is. But a little preview because, we'll kind of talk about it real quick. So the pick champ this week, me and D-Rose did have 5 different picks. They were Bruno Hulk versus Marvin Vettori, where I had Bruno Hulk. D-Rose had Marvin Vettori. It was Karina Silva versus Macy Barber, where I had Karina Silva. D-Rose had Macy Barber. It was T-Rex versus Chris Duncan, where I had T-Rex. D-Rose had Chris Duncan. Manuel Torres versus Grant Dawson, where I had Manuel Torres. D-Rose had Grant Dawson, which leaves us tied. And the main one, the final one, was Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov, which ends in a draw. So just like the UFC, if a draw happens, your boy retains the pick champ this week. But I'm not going to make you eat the beans, D-Rose. That's not fair. I'm not going to make D-Rose eat the beans. So Merry Christmas from Matt to D-Rose. You don't got to eat no beans this week. But next week, dog, you're chomping on them bad boys. And I'm going in the new year as the L pick champ.
No, we bouncing back this week. We're going to do a little Figueredo and Moreno here. This might have went to a draw, but the challenger will be back.
That's fair, dude. That's fair. So no more dog of the week, but I'm still pick champ this week. No beans to be eaten. So let's move on into our UFC news and fight announcements. I'll share my screen with you guys, and let's see what we got. Let's take off the sound. Our first one popped up right in front of me. We got Michel Pereira versus Zach Reese, February 21st in Houston. Speaking of that Houston fight, D-Rose, that's about a 3-hour drive from me. So I plan on attending UFC Houston.
That's Michel Pereira and Zach Reese. I mean, that's potentially a pretty good matchup.
I'm just going to take the under 1.5.
But can you trust it? I mean, Zach Reese has been kind of going over a little bit in his last few fights.
Fucking Michel Pereira just got knocked out by Kyle Dawkins. I'm not sure if he can take a punch.
Yeah. But he also got the absolute snot beat out of him by Anthony Hernandez for 4.5 rounds. So
yeah, Zach Reese don't have that gas tank. Come on, D-Rose.
Right, but that's what I mean. Like, are you just gonna get a much more measured Zach Reese? Try to keep Michelle Pereira at distance. I don't know.
I'll be taking the under in that one. Let's see what else we got in the meantime. I know some other fights have gotten announced, but I know one thing that I've heard was that, Donald Trump said that the White House card is going to have 8 or 9 title fights. D-Rose, out of the 11 UFC divisions, how does he expect to have 8 or 9 title fights? Like, fucking Dana's like, hey, we don't even have that many champions ready to go for the fights, Like, that's absolutely nuts.
They're going to have championship fights on the prelims.
Right? Like, every single fight's going to be like the White House championship, the front lawn championship, the president's championship. They're just going to make up
the intercontinental title.
Right.
The United States champion, the world champion.
Right, dude.
Like WWE belts and shit.
Yeah, dude. That's kind of what it seems like. So I got West Till Death pulled up here, and we'll see what happens. So Yuri Prochazka apparently wins Fighter of the Year. Well deserved. Shout out Yuri. Let's go for that. It also seems as if, real quick, since we're talking about this, I did hear that Alex Pereira plans on vacating his 205-pound title, moving up to heavyweight. D-Rose, what's your fucking thoughts on that? And if so, Yuri obviously has to fucking fight for the title, right?
Can you go back to those comments one more time? The post with the announcement of Yuri being the
why they got Nick Young there?
No, well, and the Nick Young, because the dude's confused, but just the Yuri face every time seeing him crying about Alex Pereira getting the title back. I don't know why, but it just makes me laugh every single time I see it. Like,
he's like, in his destiny.
Why are you getting emotional? This is screwing your opportunity up. But yeah, like, dude, if you're getting emotional, you should be crying in terms of sadness. Don't feel good for him. Like, this is getting your way. But in terms of everything else, I can't even remember where we were at anymore. I'm not gonna lie. I just got caught up in looking at you and laughing.
Yeah, everyone should eat beans. I ain't eating beans 3-piece. Nah, dog. D-Rose will eat them next week.
Yeah,
D-Rose will eat them next week. Trump versus Biden on the main card over Morale. Yeah, that's wild. Anyway, let's share my screen back for UFC Apex, February 7th, D-Rose. We got Mario Bautista taking on Loke Dog. I don't have my little fucking video loaded up here, but man, I wish I did. Vinicius Oliveira. What's your thoughts on this fight? It looks as if they're trying to shut Mario Bautista down. Like, they want him nowhere near a title shot.
Do we have
a problem?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, that's a really good fight and a really good test for Oliveira. I love me some Vinicius Oliveira. He's a good fighter, big dude for the division. And Mario Bautista is a tough test, man. So I think if Mario Bautista can beat Simon Oliveira, maybe the UFC tries to maybe give him a top 5 matchup next. But man, that's gonna be a tough fight, man. But that's a well matched fight right there.
Yeah, I agree. That is February 7th. So moving on down. I was like, what is going on here? But they got some kind of grappling match here. So who really cares about that, to be honest? Yeah. What's your thoughts on Alex potentially vacating, dude? Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Before you
lost track of thought.
Yep, lost track of thought because I was laughing at Yuri too much. But I mean, I guess it makes sense just because how many times are you going to be able to fight at light heavyweight to fight marketable names? It looks like they're going to start gearing up for this Tom Aspinall thing, and Well, Dana said, or not Tom Aspinall, but John Jones thing, because Dana said that Tom Aspinall, was cleared and not cleared, but hey, he should be good to go. And then, of course, reports are that Tom Aspinall's camp is saying that, well, hey, a return might not be as easy as we might want it to be. Is there a chance that this John Jones and Alex Pereira potential interim title fight the interim heavyweight belt gets turned into the loop? Because we had the interim on the line with
I guess so, dude.
Gaethje and Patty, so it very well. I don't see John Jones fighting for an interim title, but at the same time, it's a title fight, be headlined in the White House just like he would want. It could very well happen, and it could be for the interim title as well. So I'm curious to see if that's the route they go. But if he vacates, man, I'd like to see Yuri in the title shot, maybe even against Oldberg.
Fair enough, man. That's fair. Moving on down, let's see what else we got here. We have, what does Bobby Green say? Bobby Green versus Lance Gibson Jr. has been added to this weekend's card, UFC Vegas 112. Don't know who that is. Who's that, Dearest?
Yeah, I have no idea. And I saw where Bobby Green was King Green, whatever, is a pretty decent favorite too, which is crazy.
There we are, 8 to 9 titles on the White House card, Dearest.
Let's go. If you do notice though, didn't they say that beginning of February is Volk and Diego. March is Max.
Also on this card,
Charles.
though. Yeah, also on this card, we've got Taliesin Teixeira versus Tai Tuivasa. Looks like Tai coming back. What's your thoughts on Tai coming back?
Dude.
Can he make weight?
That will be the biggest question. Will he actually be able to make weight? Who knows? But yeah, that's interesting, because if Tai loses that one, man, how much more can we just keep trying him out here at this point? Unless we're going to send Derek Lewis out there for a rematch.
Right, dude. Then we got also on the same card, Mauricio Hufi versus Rafael Fiziev, dude. Should be an absolute banger, yeah?
Yeah, that should be if the fight happens. I know Fiziev has had some injury issues in the past, so I'd be curious to see, if he's able to maintain. But if he makes it, man, that's a hell of a fight.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know, Antoine. I think it just depends on what the event's looking like, whether they think they can sell some tickets on it. If he leaves the division, where's Alex Ring, light heavyweight all the time? I'd go number 2. Do they cut Tai? They have to if he loses.
Me, I'd say probably. Dude, you're talking about light heavyweight was the division before these guys came along, and you can kind of make the argument that Alex might have had a little bit more favorable matchmaking, but you still got guys like Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture and Tito Ortiz and Daniel Cormier and Rashad Evans, and I know Pereira has more title defenses than those guys, but you can make the argument that they fought in the tougher era too, versus fighting Yuri's fine, but you also got Yuri Prochazka in a favorable matchup in a rematch on 2 weeks' notice. You got number 8 Khalil Roundtree, and so on and so forth. So top 5 for sure, but yeah, that's a loaded weight class just to throw top 2 in.
I put him 2 right behind John Jones, no question. Also, same card, Dan Hooker coming back quick, D-Rose, January 31st, BSD taking on Dan Hooker. I know you were immediately kind of like surprised at this fight, I guess, but I think it could be kind of a banger of a match. Let me get your opinion on it.
I guess I was just surprised because I figured honestly Dan Hooker. I honestly thought Dan Hooker and Rafael Fiziev would be more likely than Dan Hooker and BSD, just because I figured the matchup, and for just because Saint Denis, we know what his style is going to be. He's going to go in there and look to get the fight down to the ground, and I figured Dan Hooker might have been tired of fighting a wrestler at this point. It's a good fight, and could be a well fought well-fought fight for either guy, but I was surprised to see Hooker take somebody again who has who's going to have the grappling advantage over him.
Yeah, I agree. That's fair. So we'll see what else we got here. If anything, we got UFC 326 for the BMF, dude. Set for in Vegas, UFC 326, March 7th, T-Mobile Arena, Holloway versus Oliveira for the BMF title. What's your thoughts on this one? Is this two? Have they fought before?
Yeah, they fought before. That first fight, it was the weird Charles Oliveira had like he said he had a separated shoulder. Max, tried to accuse him and say that he didn't. So it was a weird circumstances, but they technically have fought, but they didn't really get off to anything in the first fight versus this fight. They're much more developed in their careers now, and obviously much more established champions, and they're able to really show that full potential of what they wanted the first fight to be. And yeah, I think everybody's been calling for the fight for a little bit, and now finally happy to see finally got a number next to the fight.
Yeah, indeed, dude. Should be a fun one, and I love the BMF title, dude. That's always a fun one. Not a good look for Charles, though, if I'm going to be honest. He could get knocked out again, dude. Let's see what else we got. If anything, I don't think so. Let's go ahead and just kind of move on to the card this weekend, unless you have anything, man.
No, that sounds like about everything.
All right. In that case, come on. Share this tab instead. I'll move my screen over to this one, and we'll get into the fights for this weekend. So for
and get that Tapology.
Possibly. All right. So this upcoming weekend, we have UFC Vegas 112 headlining the card. Brandon Royval taking on Kape. Is taking place at 7 p.m. East Coast time this weekend. That's when the prelims start. Why are the prelims starting so late for a Apex card?
On the East Coast too. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, so it starts at 7 p.m. 13 fights, and it's headlined by Brandon Raw Dog Royval taking on Starboy Kape. We have Giga Chikadze taking on Kevin Vallejos, which should be a banger. We have Cesar Almeida taking on Cesare Oleksichuk. We have Morgan, the last pirate Charrier, taking on Melky Coffee Costa. We have Kennedy, the African Savage in Zechiku, taking on second fight in the UFC now, Marcus Buchecha, Jiu-Jitsu legend there. We have King Green taking on Lance Gibson. Don't know anything about that, but at this point, King Green just old. We got Amanda Lemos taking on Jillian Robertson. We have Joe Anderson Bredu taking on Isaac Thomas. Neil Magny taking on Yaroslav Amislov, coming over from Bellator, yeah?
Amislov, yeah, he's the guy from he's the old welterweight champion.
Gotcha. We have Sean Sharif taking on Steven Asplin. That's a dude that said he would suck Dana White's toes after his Contender Series fight. We have Luana Live, Laugh, Love Santos taking on Melissa Croden. We have Alan Fry taking on Guillermo Pat. And then opening fight of the night, we have Teresa Bleda taking on Jamie Lynn Horth. Fights that did fall out was Yasmin Lucindo fell out against Jillian Robertson. So Amanda Lemos is kind of on short notice. And also Joe Anderson Bredu versus Melsik Bagdasaryan. Melsik Bagdasaryan withdrew. So whoever Joe Anderson Bredu is fighting, Isaac Thomas, he is also on short notice as well. So, thoughts on the card as a whole? Last card of the year, last Apex card of the year.
It's got some pretty solid fights on here. I saw where Dave, said, kind of low key banger, but it's a solid card to end the year off with. I would say that Orlando was it the Orlando card last year with Colby and Buckley, and then they had, Cub Swanson and Billy Quarantillo, and, they had a couple banger fights on there. I think Dustin Jacoby and Vitor Vitrino. I don't know if it has that sort of potential. I wish I could have brought it a little bit more, but, solid card for the Apex. I said,
Yeah,
let's go C+.
That's fair. So let's get into it, D-Rose. First fight of the night is Teresa Bleda taking on Jamie Lynn Horth. Teresa Bleda is 7-1. Her only loss ever is to Natalia Silva, I believe, right? Come on. Natalia Silva, yeah, where she got spinning back kick to the stomach, but it was in the face instead because she was going for a takedown. Anyway, she's 24 years old, 5'9" and a 71-inch reach. Hasn't fought in going on 3 years, man. Jamie Lynn Horth is 8-2 overall, alternating wins and losses, 3 wins and 2 losses in her last. She did defeat Vanessa Demopoulos, lost to Miranda Maverick, beat Ivana Petrovic, lost to Veronica Hardy via split decision, but did beat Haley Cowan 2 years ago via unanimous decision. She is 35 years old, 5'7" and a 66-inch reach. D-Rose, I don't know if this fight happens simply because it's at flyweight. Teresa Bleda hasn't fought in 2 years. I know she had trouble making weight 2.5 years ago. And she's 2 years older now, dude. I think she's too big to be fighting down at 125. I'm going to be honest. Like 5'9", dude, at fucking flyweight, that's a big girl, dude. So I don't know if this fight happens. If it does happen, I believe Teresa Bleda misses weight. And if she does miss weight, dude, I believe she gasses going into the third. And I think Jamie Lynn Horth ends out winning a sketchy split decision here. So give me the dog, Jamie Lynn Horth, to win this fight via split decision. If she don't even get Teresa Bleda out of there in the third, because she just don't have nothing left, dude. What's your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I think this fight, not super interested in it. I'm not going to lie, so I won't, belabor the point, but I do think that Teresa Bleda, she has a path to victory. I think it's a striker versus grappler, with Bleda being the grappler type, where Jamie Lynn Horth does have the better striking, but she has lost to, people who have similar wrestling styles, like a Veronica Hardy. Veronica Hardy was kind of able to jab her up, and when she was able to get in, she was able to get takedowns on Jamie Lynn Horth. I think Teresa Bleda can do the same thing here. Give me Teresa Bleda by decision.
All right, that's fair. First different pick of the night is Teresa Bleda versus Jamie Lynn Horth. So D-Rose, the pick champ might come down to this fight right here. How confident are you in Teresa Bleda to come through for you?
I'm not.
You're like 0. I don't know if this fight happens, if I'm going to be honest. Exactly. But it's all right. All right, so moving on to the next one, we have Alan Fry taking on Guilherme Pat. Alan AJ Fry, 6-0, undefeated, fighting out of Wilmington, North Carolina, 27 years old, 6'4". We don't have a reach, while Guilherme Pat is 5-0, undefeated as well, 6'5", fighting out of Brazil, and an 80-inch reach, dude. This fight, if we're going to be real, should be on the Contender Series. I'm going to go for the bigger guy here in Guilherme Pat, but I'm not having one single cent on this fight this weekend. Give me Guilherme Pat, the slight favorite, to knock out Alan Fry in round number 1.
Yeah, again, not much research on either fighter. I just see that, Pat is the better striker, and, he's got some pretty sick knockouts, so I'm not going to overthink this one here. I'm going Guilherme Pat by knockout. But I'm with you as well. This fight gets not $1 on my money because I just can't do it. But give me Guilherme Pat by round 1 knockout.
All right, that's fair. Me and D-Rose agree on that one. Moving on to the next one, we got Luana, Live, Laugh, Love Santos taking on Melissa Scare Croden. Luana Santos, 9-2 overall, won 4 of her last 5. Her only loss was to Casey O'Neill via unanimous decision a year and 3 months ago. She is 25 years old, 5'6", and a 67-inch reach. This is going to be a bantamweight, D-Rose. Not the best look, if I'm going to be honest, because Melissa Croden, I picked against her in her last fight, but she is big as all hell, dude, and she's got some power in her hands. If we're just being honest, she is 34 years old. 5'9" and a 78-inch reach. See, this is a bantamweight, 5'9". What is Teresa Bleda doing? But Melissa Croden's got some power in her hands, and I truly don't think Luana Santos is that good. She might have some control time, but I don't think she'll do enough to win this fight. Give me Melissa Croden to do enough damage and ending up winning this fight via decision as the dog. What about you, D-Rose?
Yeah, this one, honestly, this one's pretty interesting because, you know me and Live, Laugh, Love, we got a little bit of a history, but just in terms of, me picking her, I've picked her more often than not in her fights, and she's actually, to me, I know you said she's not that great. I mean, she's not the greatest striker, but she's got some pretty decent submissions, man, and she's pretty ruthless. Like when she gets the fight down to the ground, like she's looking to get a submission. Like, she's not looking to play around down there. I am curious with, being up at bantamweight, against Melissa Croden, who is a big girl and she can strike, man. I mean, she can, she's clean. And, Luana Santos is going to have a little bit of trouble on her hands, but I'm wondering if Croden, maybe, she just fought, a month ago and coming back again, is she coming back a little too soon? Who knows? I'm going to stick with Luana Santos here. I'm not going to lie. I'm not the most confident in it. I would probably actually be even more confident in Trey the Blada versus Jamie Lynn Horth than I would Luana Santos, but I am going to go Luana Santos here. I'm going to go by decision.
That's fair, man. We got a different pick again. 2 of 3 we picked different on. Up next, we got Sean, the Smoke Sheriff, taking on Concrete Steven Asplin. He's the dude that wants to suck Dana White's toes. Yeah. Sean Sheriff is 4-1 overall, while Steven Asplin is 6-1 overall. Sean Sheriff is 32 years old, 6'3" and a 77-inch reach. Lost his UFC debut to Junior Tafa, which is the worst look possible. Steven Asplin won his fight on the Contender Series, where he was a big dog at. He's 27 years old, 6'5", big old boy, and 78-inch reach. D-Rose, I think they're going to push Steven Asplin in the heavyweight division real quick, and he's probably going to knock out these fools until someone can take him down. Give me Steven Asplin, first-round knockout, because who said the fat boy can't fight?
Yeah, I loved his speech during during the Contender Series as well. So I think he could be a guy who he's kind of like the old old country dude at school or whatever, kind of like that left tackle type dude who always kind of a little bit rugged but always down for a good time. That seems like that's Steven Asplin. And what his father was a fighter as well, and now, his dad never made it to the UFC, but, he's kind of able to, live out the family dream and things like that. So it's, kind of a cool story for Steven Asplin here. And, I am excited to see him fight. And I think, as you said, he's going to be knocking out some dudes. I think he's going to be knocking out Sean Sheriff this week. Let's go round 1 knockout for Steven Asplin.
That's fair, man. That's fair. Moving on to the next one. We've got Neil Magny taking on Yaroslav Amosov. Haitian sensation Neil Magny, 31-13 out of his last 5 fights, won 3 and lost 2. Win against Jake Matthews, win against Elijah Zaleski dos Santos, lost to Carlos Prates, lost to Michael Morales, win against Mike Malott. He is 38 years old, 6'3" and an 80-inch reach, while Yaroslav Amosov is 28-1 overall. His only loss ever is to the ass-kicking machine, Jason Jackson, 2 years ago. And then he did fight 8 months ago against Curtis Millender, UFC vet that's old at this point, though. He is 32 years old, 5'11", and a 75-inch reach. D-Rose, I want nothing to do with this fight, but to continue my streak of just fading the Bellator guys when they come into the UFC, give me Neil Magny to come in here and drag him into the Magnyverse, win via third-round submission as Neil Magny does. What's your thoughts here, man?
Funny enough, because I've always been, I watched a little bit of Bellator, and I've always said, like, hey, if there's a guy who I think is good coming over, I will tell you, like, hey, this guy, he's pretty solid, and I do think Amosov is a good fighter, but I do think there are openings as well. He is very, grappling heavy, and I think if he's not able to get a lot of those wrestling exchanges, that's how Jason Jackson was able to knock him out on the feet. Was that he was able to stuff a lot of Amosov's takedowns, and Neil Magny's been there and done that, man, against a lot of these guys. and he's been looking better over his last few fights as well. I got round 3 TKO for Neil Magny. I
Okay.
think Amosov kind of goes a little hard in the first round with some submissions, trying to come in and prove a point. I think he ends up gassing out as the fight goes, and I think in the third round, kind of similar to how Magny was able to kind of who was that? Was it Zaleski
Jake
dos Santos
Matthews?
that well, I was just thinking about who he had ground and pounded there at the end of the
Oh, yeah.
it was Aleski's Dos Santos. So let's go Neil Magny, ground and pound, round 3.
All right, that's fair. You know what? I'll agree with you, D-Rose. I'll just go TKO with you. I'll agree with you because Amosov more than me. Up next, we got Joe Anderson Brito taking on Isaac Thomas. Joe Anderson Brito, 17-5-1 overall. Lost his last 2 fights against Pat Sabatini and William Gomez, though. He is 30 years old, 5'8", and a 72-inch reach, while Isaac Thomas, UFC newcomer, signed this fight, I believe, a couple of days ago. Last fought a month ago in LFA. He is 23 years old, 5'11", and a 72-inch reach. Fights out of Team Alpha Male, D-Rose. So not just some Australian random dude fighting out of Perth or anything like that. We actually have someone training at a legit gym. So training at Team Alpha Male tells me he's going to be pretty wrestle box heavy. But if you're going to play that game with Joe Anderson Brito, I think that's exactly what he wants, dude. You take him down, he's going to be screaming at you, trying to sweep you, stand back up just to throw heavy bombs. So, yeah, give me Joe Anderson Brito. Let's go Joe Anderson Brito, round 2 knockout. D-Rose, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, this one, I'm not as familiar with Thomason here. So, even you just telling me that, he was training at a Team Alpha Male was news to me. I'm just going to stick with the known commodity here. And I also think just for Joe Anderson Brito, his back's kind of against the wall now because, a lot of people might have thought that he won that William Gomez fight. I had the pick champ and I had a straight bet for William Gomez by decision in that fight. So I necessarily didn't think it was a bad decision, but I know a lot of other people did. But, he got dominated in that Pat Sabatini fight. Now, Pat Sabatini showed that Chepe fight that, clearly he's gotten better since that Diego Lopez fight. But just in terms of, where Joe Anderson Brito's at, Brito's in due for a win, man. And he's got to get one, if he wants to have any hope of, continuing around in the UFC. I think he comes out foot on the gas in the first round here. I think he gets the first round knockout. So give me Joe Anderson Brito first round knockout.
That's fair. Me and you both on Joe Anderson Brito here. Antoine wants to know, would you guys take a fight this dangerous, 3 days notice to get your foot in the door? I guess if I'm trying to make it to the UFC, I guess I'll do anything to get there, You got a chance to win. If your goal is to be the champion, then you got to beat Joe Anderson Brito along the way anyway.
Yeah, well, that and too, the UFC really appreciates guys who comes in and takes short notice fights like this and does favors for them. And, the UFC tends to do favors for those guys in the process. So either way, I think this could be good for Isaac Thompson as long as he takes advantage of the opportunity.
That's fair. Moving on to the next one, we got Amanda Lemos taking on Julian the Savage Robinson. Amanda Lemos, 15-5-1 overall. Out of her last 5 fights, she's alternating wins and losses. Lost to Magnum Jingwei Lee, win against Mackenzie Dern, your current champion. Loss against Verna Jandiroba. Win against Yasmin Lucindo, and loss against Tatiana Suarez via decision 2 months ago. She is 38 years old, 5'4", 65-inch reach, stepping in on short notice to fight Jillian Robertson. Did Jillian Robertson have the game plan, enough time to strategize the game plan against Amanda Lemos? We'll see. Taking a look at her, last 5 fights, she's beaten Marina Rodriguez, knocked her out. She beat Luana Pinheiro. She decisioned Michelle Watterson Gomez, but that was down a weight class, and I believe she knocked out Poliana Vian. I'm not sure. No, because she came down from 125. Yeah. So those were all with her down at 125. Tabitha Ricci was also at 115 as well. So she's had 5 fights down at 115 now. She's 30 years old, 5'5", and a 63-inch reach. D-Rose, I can't shake the feeling any more than coming in short notice. Amanda Lemos, she don't really care. She's going to come out here, stuff the takedowns, dude. She's got pretty solid takedown defense. And let's not pretend like fucking Jillian Robertson is a wizard at getting it down, man, And she was able to last all 5 against Magnum Jingwei Lee. Is Jillian Robertson that good, dude? Because on the feet, dude, if she's able to stuff some takedowns, I really think Jillian Robertson is in a lot of trouble, dude. This wouldn't be the first time we've seen her get knocked out. I'm going to go Amanda Lemos to find that punch on the feet, stuff the takedowns, knock out Jillian Robertson. Let's go round number 2, D-Rose. What's your thoughts here? As the dog, too.
Yeah, that's surprising because I know you're typically a Jillian Robertson dude.
I can't shake the feeling that she's getting knocked out this weekend. I don't know what it is, dude.
And you typically fade Lemos,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm typically riding for Lemos, and I'm not. I ride with Jillian Robertson more than fade her, but I have faded her in the past. But I mean, man, if you're asking me, I think this is you know, I'm an Amanda Lemos fan. You know, I love me some Amanda Lemos, but if there's one thing that I could typically do when fighters that I like watching the most is identify when there's a bad matchup, and this is a bad matchup. So I do think that Jillian Robertson is not the best wrestler that she's ever faced. So I do think that, you know, obviously she's going to be able to keep the fight on the feet for a majority of the time. But what happens the one time that Jillian Robertson does get her down to the ground? Jillian Robertson she has great top control once she gets the fight there. She has great back control. She's always going for the arm bar. She's always going for a rear naked choke. She's looking to get that back. So I think Jillian Robertson, man, I think it's a perfect matchup for her. I'm with Antoine here. I got Jillian Robertson. I actually got round 2 submission for Jillian Robertson. I'm going with a rear naked choke submission. That's how confident I am that Jillian Robertson gets the job done.
All right. Me and D-Rose split on that one. We were split on all the girl fights, D-Rose. We got 3 girl fights that we're split on. Moving on, dude. We have Bobby King Green taking on Lance Gibson. I don't know anything about this fight. Bobby Green, 32-17-1, 39 years old, 5'10". Let's see what Lance Gibson does. He's 30 years old, 5'10", and 72-inch reach. So he's going to be same height, but have a longer reach than Bobby Green. And Bobby Green fights with his hands down. Lance Gibson wins via rear naked choke, KO. He fought Bellator, D-Rose. You ain't never heard of him?
No, I'm not familiar with him.
It looks like a lot of submissions, but he does have a knockout, so I can only imagine that's probably ground and pound. So let's go Lance Gibson to win this fight. Let's go round 1 submission. D-Rose, what's your thoughts here?
I guess. I mean, I know nothing about
I don't either. I just read off what I know to you.
Yeah. Well, so you're saying how about it? Like I'm like, I guess.
I mean, I'm not betting on it. No, are you going Bobby Green for the big champ or not? That's my question.
No. Even if I pick Bobby Green here, I'm controlling the pick champ, and this would be our 4th that we disagree on, and this wouldn't go in. But, weirdly enough, I think I'm actually with you. I think there could be potential. I want to go TKO, but I think maybe some ground and pound. Maybe just a takedown. Bobby Green does tend to struggle with the takedowns. Later in his career. Let's go round 2 ground and pound for Gibson.
I think fucking Gibson head and arm triangles him in the first round. That's how Bobby Green loses.
That's who. Yeah, that very well could happen.
All right, moving on, D-Rose. We have Kennedy, the African Savage in Zechiku, taking on Marcus Buchecha, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu royalty at this point. Kennedy is 14-6 out of his last 5 fights. He has lost 3-1-2, lost Walter Walker via heel hook, knocked out Lucas Stretsky, knocked out Chris Barnett, and lost to OSP via split decision down a weight class, and got knocked out by Dustin Jacoby. I watched that live down a weight class. Fighting out of Dallas, Texas, 33 years old, 6'5" at 83-inch reach, while Marcus Buchecha is 5-2 overall. Lost his last fight against Martin Boudet, then got cut, D-Rose. Martin Boudet won and then got cut. Kind of bullshit, if you ask me, because he only had 1 loss in the UFC total. Anyway, Marcus Buchecha is 35 years old, 6'2", 77.5-inch reach. I think if Walter Walker comes in here and heel hooks you, I think the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legend, who is already, shaking off the UFC cobwebs, knows what he has to do going to be fighting a much smaller guy with worse takedown defense that just got submitted. Give me Marcus Buchecha to submit Kennedy and Zeshku in round number 1, D-Rose. And that's just Kennedy is just ass at this point. He for sure needs to go back down to light heavyweight. When I saw he was moving up to heavyweight, I was like, what? Like, it's not like he's a crazy, like, athletic dude, so he's just going to be fat Kennedy doing this same shit. And he's just kind of getting exposed for it, man. So I think he fucking loses this one, and I'm not going to say UFC's going to cut him, but he's got to change something. What's up, man?
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I know Martin Boudet, you know, solid fighter, yada yada, but that's just not a good look for me for Marcus Buchecha, you know. And he just, if he couldn't get the takedown, he had nothing. And at least Walter Walker does have a signature submission where I don't necessarily know that about Marcus Buchecha, and you know, he's not necessarily the most lights out takedown guy either. Yeah, I'm going to go Kennedy and Zeshku here. I'm going to go. Oh, this is going to be ugly. I'm going to go by decision. I think it's going to be an ugly fight. I think it's just going to be Kennedy staying in top position and keeping basically safe, laying a very minimal ground and pound. It's going to be your PBF of the week. Let's just say that.
That's fair, dude. Me and you disagree on that one. We'll move on to the next one. We got the last pirate, Morgan Charrier, taking on new nickname, the Dalmatian, Ezekiel Costa. So Morgan Charrier, 21-11-1 overall, alternating wins and losses over his last 5. Beat Nate Landwehr, Nate the Train in UFC, baby. Lost to Nathaniel Wood. Beat Gabriel Fly Miranda, but he's ass. Lost to Chepe Mariscal via split decision. I personally thought Morgan Charrier won that fight. And then Manolo Zucchini, I don't even know who that is. Anyway, he is 30 years old, 5'8", and a 69-inch reach, while Ezekiel Costa is 24-7 out of his last 5 fights, 4 wins, 1 loss. His loss was to Steve Garcia. Was that up at 155 or not?
The Garcia fight?
No, his Thiago Moises fight. That was up at 155. So that was at 145. Choked out Shaolin Nordenbecky. Choked out Andre Fili, beat C-Rod via decision, and beat Julian Erosa via decision. He is 29 years old, 5'10", and a 71-inch reach. He needs to get this fight down to win, but Morgan Charrier has a really good takedown defense. D-Rose, I want nothing to do with picking a side here. Give me the over 2.5 for sure. I'll be betting that because I think both these dudes are tough, and this could be kind of a staring contest because I don't think Melky Coffey gets him down, but he's competent enough on the feet to not get knocked out, I think. So I think I'm leaning Morgan Charrier to win this fight via decision. How about you, D-Rose?
Yeah, this one, I mean, I know the betting lines are even, and understandably so, because I've had a tough time choosing this fight. It's probably been the one that I've struggled with the most because I can see, both fighters winning in a multitude of ways. I think for, Melky Costa, I'm with you that he, his best path is to get the fight down to the ground. His striking has gotten better, and his striking has gotten better to set up his takedowns as well. And, he was able to snatch up Andre Fili in that guillotine when Fili kind of went for a sloppy takedown as well. So, he's dangerous off his back, whether you're attacking him, whether he's on the attack. And I think for Morgan Charrier, clearly the more explosive striker of the two. I will say for me, I picked Morgan Charrier in that Nate Landwehr fight, and I was pretty nervous going into that 3rd round because it did look like it was starting to become a little bit of a Nate Landwehr fight. And Nate Landwehr was able to land takedowns there in that 2nd round. I thought in the Chepe fight, that's where Chepe was able to turn around his fortune. In the Morgan Charrier fight was that Chepe was able to use his wrestling against him. I got to think that Melky Costa is going to be able to find a way to get the fight down to the ground, to be able to etch out those rounds to get the dub. I think that Morgan Charrier is tough, so it's going to be tough to finish him. But I do think that Melky Costa is going to be able to get enough ground control, a little bit of ground and pound, maybe some submission attempts. Doesn't necessarily get the finish, but I think he does enough to get it done in the eyes of the judges. Let's go Costa by decision.
All right, another different pick. I'm on Morgan Charrier. D Rose is on Melky Costa. I wants to know. Let's see. big ass question. How do you guys feel about fighters with losses turning a corner late in their careers? Like, can Morgan achieve something late? I don't know, Antoine. We'll have to see. He's ranked number 32 right now, man. We got a long. He's got to be ranked in the top 15 before we even start asking these kinds of questions, brother. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Cesar Almeida taking on Cesare Alexachuk, whichever way you want to say it. Cesar Almeida, I believe, trains with I thought trained with Alex Pereira now, but maybe not. Knocked out Abdul Razak Al Hassan in his last fight 10 months ago. Beat Ihor Peteria via decision. Lost to Roman Kapilov via split decision. Kept getting taken down though. When he was getting hit, he did not like it. Anyway, knocked out Dylan Budka, and that was on the Contender Series. He's 7-1 overall, 37 years old, 6'1", 74-inch reach. While Oleszejczuk is 16-3 overall. He lost almost 2 years ago, and he won on the Contender Series, knocked the dude out. Anyway, he's Mikhail Oleszejczuk's little brother. He is 25 years old, 6'3", and a 75-inch reach. D-Rose, UFC debut, coming off Contender Series. I think I need to see more, and to beat Cesar Almeida, I think you're going to have to take him down and submit him, ground and pound him, because on the feet, the dude's lethal. Former kickboxer, fought Alex Pereira a few times. So give me the under 1.5 here, but give me Cesar Almeida early round 2 knockout. That's what I'm going. So under 1.5, I will be betting because I think one of the dudes are going to knock the other one out either way. But early round 2 knockout for me, Cesar Almeida. What about you, D-Rose?
Yeah, this was tough for me to choose because this is another one that I've gone back and forth with because, Cesar Almeida, he's got big power in his hands and he hurts dudes. And I think for Oleszejczuk, he has kind of similar to that Michal, type of pressure.
The hide behind the shoulder and just come in and.
Yeah, that high guard. Yeah, he comes in with that high guard, a little bit of a shoulder roll, and he's just looking to wing punches and hurt the opponent. And I do think that is kind of the best way to get to Cesar Almeida is you got to get on him because I think if you give him any type of room or anything like that, and you have to be measured when you get in there as well to try to, land shots on him because Abdul Razak Al Hassan was actually able to hurt Cesar Almeida on the feet. But got a little reckless there with that, flurry against the fence and ultimately paid for it when Cesar Almeida landed. I know a lot of people forget about that KO this year, but I remember, obviously that was at the beginning of the year, but that was the KO of the year for the first couple months of the year. So that was an absolute nasty left hook. He's got the power to get it done, but I think Oleszejczuk has the style to get the fight done. Plus, I would not be surprised to see some wrestling mixed in as well, just because I know he's not going to be super, super duper reckless. Let's go Oleszejczuk. I'm going to go by decision. I think this ends up being actually a pretty fun fight. I think both guys throw down. I think Oleszejczuk gets the decision win. Let's go like a 29-28.
That's fair. Moving on to the next one, co-main event of the evening. We've got Giga Ninja Chikadze taking on El Chino Kevin Vallejos. Giga Chikadze, 15-5 overall out of his last 5 fights. 3 losses, 2 wins. Lost to David Onama, lost to Arnold Allen. He did beat Alex Caceres before he got cut from the UFC. Lost to Calvin Kattar. Headbutted his punches a whole lot, but that was 3 years ago too. And then knocked out Edson Barboza 4 years ago with the body kick. Anyway, 37 years old, 6 foot, 74-inch reach. Dude, he's just been so inactive over these past few years. And then Kevin Vallejos, this one from the Contender Series, knocked out Cam Teague, dude. But the one before that, was it that he fought? Who was it? Who did he fight? It wasn't
Silva.
Ilya, was it?
John Silva.
Oh, yeah, John Silva. That's what it is. So tough as all hell. Was able to go to decision with him. That's his only loss there. 24 years old, 5'7", 68-inch reach. D-Rose, I think at this point, I just think Giga's washed, man. He just kind of stands there, tries to land the body kick. If it don't work, then what? He's just going to get walked down and bombed on. I think Giga's tough as all hell, though. That's the issue. So I'm just going to go decision Kevin Vallejos, leave it like that. I'm sure the betting market also thinks the same thing. I'll probably have a bet Kevin Vallejos by knockout, but I'm leaning toward decision though. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think for this fight, Kevin Vallejos, I think he has multiple ways to win. Takedown, boxing, whatever the case may be. I wouldn't say that Giga Chikadze doesn't do much. I just think he still, even at this point in his career, he has almost zero takedown defense. David Onama, who's not even like that much of like an explosive wrestler, he was willing to stay in exchange with Giga until Giga did hurt him on the feet. And then afterwards, David Onama went for one takedown, got him down with ease, and was like, oh, wow, I could do that easy? Okay, I'll just keep doing it until I win the fight. And ultimately, that was what he did. And, Arnold Allen was able to do the same thing. He just kept taking Giga down. And Giga had no takedown defense whatsoever. I think Vallejos, I don't know. He's not going to go full Habib and just go for ground and pound the whole time. And you're holding the guy down. But I think Vallejos can use his boxing, get in the range, and use a little bit of the wrestling as well. I think he mixes it up here. And I'm with you that Giga's just so tough. I don't see a finish here. But I think Vallejos gets it done by decision.
That's fair. Me and Dearest agreeing on that one, which will move us to the main event of the evening. Last main event of the year. We've got Brandon Raw Dog Royval taking on Starboy Manel Kape. Brandon Raw Dog Royval, 17-8 overall out of his last 5 fights, 3 wins and 2 losses. Lost to Josh Van, win against Tatsuro Taira, win against Brandon Moreno, lost to Alexandre Pantoja, and win against Matthias Nicolau. He is 33 years old, 3 months, 3 weeks. It'd be cool if it was 3 days as well, but it's not. He is 5'9", 68-inch reach. Starboy Manel Kape is 21-7 overall. His only loss out of his last 5 fights is to Muhammad Makayev, which is now cut from the UFC. And then before that, it was to Pantoja, I believe. I believe he only has 2 losses inside the UFC. He is 32 years old, 5'5", and a 68-inch reach. Yeah, man. Let me just say this. We all love Brandon Royval. He makes a fun fight. But with that fun fight comes the absolute abandonment of defense. And if he's getting cracked by Taira, got dropped by Van in his last fight, dude, Manel Kape is one of these people that I believe he probably has as much mass on his frame that he can handle at 125 and still make the weight, dude. He hits hard as shit. He's willing to poke you in the eye and cheat to win, dude. He's going to do anything to win, dude. And the openings that Brandon Royval leaves, dude, is just too much for me to ignore. So I believe at some point Manel Kape finds the chin of Brandon Royval. This is a 5-round fight too. But I believe by round number 3, I believe Manel Kape finds the chin of Brandon Royval. If not sooner, man. Give Manel Kape round 3 knockout. Which way are you going here, brother man?
Yeah, I think, for this fight, I think the winner of this fight could potentially find themselves in the title shot, especially if they, deliver emphatically, obviously with the change of hands.
Kape still got 3 days to pull out.
Hey, that is true. Hey, give him time. Well, in terms of this matchup too, give Royval some time because they both get injured against each other, but not against anybody else, which is always a weird part with these two. But I do think that as you said, Royval leaves himself open a lot of times. He always brings a fun fight, but he doesn't have the most power, and he leaves his hands up and leaves himself open. And I do think that Kape has he just came along and he's kind of gotten in the zone now to where he's in this kind of flow state with the striking, and he's fast. I think he hurts Royval on a couple of occasions, but I just think Royval is just a damn old leather boot, man. He's just tough to hurt. He's so damn tough. But I think Kape gets it done. I think it ends up being another exciting fight, especially on the hands of Brandon Royval. But I think Kape gets it done here. I say in the fight of the night, I think it's a decision for Manel Kape.
That's fair, man. I'm gonna go ahead and save my picks. Got my picks saved. Yeah, that's our picks for this evening. But it is Christmas time. Antoine asking something. Do you guys think Royval versus Van will go in the Hall of Fame? I don't think so, Antoine. Looking back, was Royval versus Van fight of the year? I don't think so, Antoine. Especially not for this past weekend where he Ebo versus Ewo. That has to be fight of the year, dude.
Yeah, I would say. Well, we'll do some awards maybe next week, or which maybe next week. So
speaking of
we'll have time to
next
talk
week,
about it.
real quick, we have to recap the last card of the year. The only thing is that, as kind of leads into Antoine's question, I'm going to Spurs versus Wizards next Wednesday at 7. So we either got to do the recap podcast on Sunday, which is going to be football day. So I feel like that's a no-go. So we're going to probably do it earlier next Wednesday. What do you think, D-Rose? Like, are you good with noon? Do you want to push it back a little bit? What's up?
I mean, Sunday we can maybe do something early. Maybe something early enough Sunday. That might be because just because Wednesday at noon, Danica is going to be here, so it's going to be tough to do the pod because I'm going to be the only one here with her, so it's going to be tough, kind of balancing the pod with her here by myself.
In that case, we'll figure it out. It'll either be Sunday or Wednesday, one of the two. But keep an eye out on the channel for that. The podcast will not be at the same time this upcoming week because I'm going to a Spurs game this upcoming week. But before we get out of here, there is no more dog of the week, D-Rose. How sad is that?
The saddest. But we do need to make our picks for pick champ.
Yeah. Let me do that right quick.
And
pick champ.
I'll save you some time because I know the picks that we got different against.
Okay.
I will do Jillian Robertson versus Amanda Lemos. I have Jillian Robertson. You have Amanda Lemos.
I got you.
I will do Marcus Buchecha versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. I have Kennedy Nzechukwu. You have Marcus Buchecha.
Mm-hmm.
And I will do Milky Costa versus Morgan Charrier. I have Milky Costa, and you have Morgan Charrier.
All right. What's the backup?
We will use the backup. Let's go Treza Bleda versus Jamie Linhorth.
All right. That's the backup.
Even though we probably need a backup for that fight. But
yeah. So different picks this weekend are Amanda Lemos, Julian Robertson, Marcus Buchecha, Kennedy Nzechukwu, and Morgan Charrier versus Melky Costa, where I got Amanda Lemos, Marcus Buchecha, and Morgan Charrier, and D Rose as Julian Robertson, Kennedy Nzechukwu, and Melky Costa, the Dalmatian, if you will. Backup is Horth versus Bleda, but if that falls out, then we'll probably Croden Santos or Almeida Alexa Cho.
Probably Almeida Alexa, but
all right. So we even got to back up too.
That's not this fight.
So we even got to back up too.
That's the
backup too. Back up to the backup because the backup might fall out first.
That's the third. Yeah, that's the third string. That's not the backup. That's the third string.
All right, but because it is the holiday season, you guys, we don't want to leave you with nothing here. It's the holiday season, last fight card of the year. My goal was to help you guys, maybe win a little bit of money, put a little bit of cash in your pocket to buy some Christmas presents this weekend. D Rose and myself have cooked up a parlay. His might be able to get you gas to get the Christmas present, but mine will be able to, just if we hit it, because it's a long shot, 7 legs here, then you'll be able to fund a lot of Christmas presents. But, let's get into it, D Rose. I'll let you talk about yours first, man.
Well, yeah. For mine, tried to keep it a little simple, a little sweet. Nothing too crazy. Gave you the odds there. So you can place whatever you want to place on it. I'm flirting between $10-$20 that I want to place on it right now. I think Kevin Vallejo's round 3 or by decision. Again, Giga is super tough, so I can see him lasting. Even if he does get finished, I can see him lasting late in the fight. I got the over 2.5 in that Royval, or over 3.5 in the Royval versus Kape fight. I do think that fight gets to that point. I just think, Royval is so tough. Even if he does take a little bit of damage, I do think that he's so tough. He just has no quit in him, and you're really going to have to hurt him to get him out of there. And I got Neil Magny, Yaroslav Amosov to start round 2. That gets us to plus 363. So $10 will pay you out in total of $46. So yeah, get you a little Chick-fil-A gift card for somebody there.
All right, that's fair for your white Santa at work for Christmas. Now, me, on the other hand, I'm going all out. I'm trying to win y'all some money to buy some Christmas gifts this weekend. Me and D-Rose have picked different on a lot of these, so I know D-Rose not going to really like it too much, but it's a 7-leg. It is $25 to win $10,890.94. The 7 legs, not in any order, so I do apologize. But it is the Melissa Croden money line, the Cesar Almeida versus Alexichuk fight to go under 1.5 rounds, Melky Costa versus Morgan Charrier to go over 2.5 rounds. We got Steven Asplum versus Sean Sheriff to go under 1.5 rounds. And then our 3 exact methods is Manel Kape by KO, Marcus Buchecha by submission, and Amanda Lemos by KO. If by some chance all of those hit and you decide to tail this weekend, congratulations. You're going to have a fantastic Christmas because $25 turns to 10 bands, D-Rose. I know we're not picking the same, but it's worth the shot for Christmas. For Christmas for the boys. Christmas for the boys.
For all the ho-ho-hos out there, it's worth a shot.
It's worth the shots. 7 legs to put some zeros in your bank account. But yeah, with that being said, we hope you all have a Merry Christmas. If you're going to catch us here next weekend, then I'll tell you guys again. But if this is the last time you're going to be watching me and D-Rose for this year, thank you guys very much for watching all year. If you haven't, that's cool too. We appreciate you just stopping by, saying what's up, checking out the boys, chatting in the chat, all that good stuff. So thank you for all the love all year. Me and D-Rose will still be here next year. But if not, we hope you all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And me and D-Rose will be kicking it off for the pay-per-view next year, or I guess not the pay-per-view next year, the first numbered card this upcoming year. I'll be flying over to D-Rose, and we'll be live streaming the first one of the year. So that should be fun. But all right, D-Rose, anything before we get out of here, brother man?
No, man. We are good to go. Good pod this week, and hopefully we can get some money on this last card of the year until January 24th of 2026.
Yeah, crazy, dude. 6 weeks with no fights. 6 weeks with no fights. Happens every year, and it sucks every year. So hopefully we can make this last one a good one. So good luck to everyone betting out there this weekend. Remember, don't be betting more than you can actually afford to lose, because at the end of the day, it's a fist fight and anything can happen. And Amanda Lemos can knock out Julian Robertson. Don't forget that. So with that being said, me and D-Rose will catch you sometime next week, whether it's, Sunday afternoon or Wednesday, one of the two. But until then, y'all stay safe. Y'all have a good Christmas. Happy New Year. Catch you guys next week. Peace.
The Grant Dawson.